In analytics, there's a unique way that you are supposed to think and see things in the world. For example, if you look at an image, when you see a cat on an image, your PC is not going to understand that as a cat, but you're going to have to present that in an array format so that it can be analyzed and it can be identified. A lot of things, other things like the sound that you are hearing, the video that you are watching, anything can be converted into an array containing numbers. Now, what you are looking at here is an array containing client data. And this is mostly how you're going to see your data, especially in the financial sector. So you have this array, and this is going to be called a two-dimensional array. So a two-dimensional array, it means we have this dimension and we have this dimension. But then, what does an array contain? Now, in classical statistics, you have probably heard something called variables. Here, we have this green section, and we have name, employment status, age, occupation, annual income, savings, and credit score. And these are going to be called our variables. So, we can extract an array containing variables only. What do I mean? So, I said this here is an array. But if we take this part alone, we also get an array. So this is an array, and this array contains variable names only. In future, when we will be doing our machine learning projects, you learn that you may not need to use all variables to train your model. So if you take a small sample of these variables, for example, if you only take age, occupation, and savings, and use that to train your model, we are going to call these features. So you need to start getting familiar with that kind of naming. Then you notice there's also different rows here that we have, and they have unique client names. In normal practice, people would always use things like client ID. So there are unique identifiers that when you see that identifier, you will only know it is Weichen and Weichen alone. So this one here is called observations. So we can call these observations or instances. So we have an observation for Weichen. Now, a question would be, can you access specific information about Weichen based on this array? For instance, how much has Weichen saved? So that means you're going to take the client name is Weichen and come and check under savings. So you're going to have this as they're saving 12 grand. Now you need to start training your mind to see things in that format so that every time you want to manipulate your data, every time you want to run your model, every time you want to code, you're going to have this mental picture of how your data is going to look like when you are writing instructions. But then, as you have already noticed, this one here is vertical and this is horizontal. So it didn't mean that we were going to have to write an horizontal array. So it means you can easily extract that information and input it in this format. An array can contain different data types. We have already talked about data types. So, for example, this one here is text. This one here is numerical. And this one here is float. So it means this array contains information that is of mixed data types. And there are things you can do and that you cannot do with this kind of an array. So if you don't remember what we talked about in the array section, just stop here, go back and look at information about arrays, how to transpose, how to slice, how to arrange and rearrange, and append and extend. Then you can also have an array that contains pure information belonging to one specific data type. For instance, we have this array here and it contains information which is in numerical format. So this is information about age. So for example, if you wanted to access this, then it means if we called our data, for example, D, then it means you're going to say D age, and then it is going to give you this. We are going to write a code about that. But now, there is something else that you have probably heard in mathematics and every other discipline where we are going to use this kind of numbers. You have probably heard about something called a matrix. And you have also heard something called a vector. This array can also be presented in terms of a matrix or a vector. For example, a matrix is something that looks like this. So it contains information here. Then we also have a vector, which is going to contain, for example, we can input this information about age in terms of a vector, and that is going to be this vector. So this vector is going to be 34. Sorry, does not have this comma. So this is a vector 34, 29, 41, 37, 31. So you need to try and start seeing things in this format. For now, this is all you need to know, so that when I will be telling you we need to access information about Sophia, and this information is going to be their credit score, then you know we are going to have to access a feature called credit score for an instance called Sophia. Now that you know all this, we are finally to the ultimate part of this course. And before I leave this exercise to you, and of course I'm going to leave the answer to this question, I would like to congratulate you, because getting this far is not easy. It needs resilience and dedication. And as you've seen, actually manipulating data in Python is not complex. Because I've been working on machine learning research for quite some time now, I think we tend to overemphasize or overestimate how difficult machine learning can be. It is complicated. I don't want to lie to you. But if you are trained and you are taught in the right way, I think it is easy for somebody who is dedicated enough to learn and understand. So in the near future, I will be extending these courses to discuss machine learning, deep learning, and more importantly, the ultimate part of it, which is called explainable machine learning. That is actually what I've been working on. So here I have a question for you, and you're going to read this question very carefully. You have already seen the data. This is the financial records data that we have been working on all through. So you're going to go through that data and try to understand it. Then after you've done that, you will look into this question. So you can pause here, read the question carefully and understand. I would recommend you try not to use AI at this stage to answer your questions. But of course, in future, when you're doing your coding, I will advise you to continue using it as long as you understand what you're doing exactly. So because you're learning at the moment, try first to write your codes and think through your questions and think through your logic, then answer this question. So I've broken it down into 7 steps, but of course in a real working environment, nobody's going to write it down for you. You're going to have to write down these rules for yourself before you start solving your question. Or you can have a mental map of it, whichever you choose or whichever way you choose to work. Now, once you have answered this question, I'd like you to leave a comment containing your code. You can either take a snip of your code and leave it, or sometimes, because the snip might be too long, you can actually copy the entire code and leave it in the comment section. So people who have worked through the project and have seen actually what you have done so far can go through it and try to see the logic that you used. There are so many ways that this question can be answered, and I'm sure everybody is going to have their own unique approach. So no answer is going to be better than the other one. But of course, we have more optimum codes than others. So it means at this stage, you should not be worried about that. But we have codes that work better, quicker, and faster than others. And also those that have taken the right logic, in the sense that if something small changes, actually the code will still continue working without breaking. After that, now you can come down here and check the answer that I've actually left for you. So I did not leave the code, I've left you the solution. I have done the coding myself, and then after that, I have saved my solution as you can see here. So I expect you to have this table at the end of your coding. However you choose to do it, you should have the table containing risk profile and loan limit, and they should read as follows: moderate, invalid, low, moderate, high. And then these are the loan limit values for all these people. You can actually pause here and then go back here and check if this logic is met in this solution. So if you get an answer like this, congratulations. But wherever you get stuck, just let me know. Leave a comment and then we can pick it up from there. I will always try to respond to your comments so that we can learn together. So I'll see you on the next one, which is going to be data structures and algorithms, then before we can now start working on the real machine learning projects. Congratulations, and please remember to subscribe. Bye bye.